Madam President, distinguished members of the Council, thank you for giving me the floor. I thank the Special Representative, Bintu Keita, for her briefing, as well as the colleagues who spoke before me for their statements. I thank you, Ambassador Kanu, for your visit to the region and for your report. Madam President, today's meeting comes at a crucial turning point. Earlier today, the government of Rwanda signed a peace agreement with the Democratic Republic of Congo, brokered by the United States. We wish to thank the United States government for facilitating this breakthrough. We also commend the state of Qatar for its tireless mediation efforts between the DRC government and the AFC M23, which are expected to lead to an agreement between those parties in due course. The African Union, the East African Community, and the Southern African Development Community are equally central to resolving this conflict. While there is still some way to go, the path to lasting peace in the Great Lakes region is clearer now than it has ever been before. An important part of today's agreement is the provision for the parties to form a standing joint security coordination mechanism whose first order of business will be to oversee the implementation of the concept of operations for the neutralization of FDLR and the lifting of Rwanda's defensive measures as approved under the Rwanda process in November last year. These developments provide a new context to the debate here today, in particular on the role of MONUSCO in advancing peace and security in our region. Rwanda, like all countries, protects its people and its border by taking security measures commensurate with the threat faced and appropriate to the circumstances at any given time. Rwanda's unique history imposes heavy burdens in that regard. We will always discharge our right and duty of self-defense professionally and promptly. In the situation before us, the defensive measures are directly linked to a specific threat that is well known to the Council, and that is the FDLR, remnants of the forces that carried out the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994, and that continues to pursue the genocidal intent and ideology. It is not Rwanda alone which defines FDLR as a threat to the international peace and security. It is this Council as well. Resolution 1493 of 2003 called for the neutralization of FDLR. This was followed by Resolution 1509, 1533, 1552, 1649, 1698, 1807, 1856, 1896, 1925, 1991, 2053, 2078, 2198, 2293, 2409, 2511, 2765, and of course, 2773. All these resolutions defining FDLR as a threat to peace and committing all these resolutions defined FDLR as a threat and committed MONUSCO to address it. 20 resolutions over the period of 22 years, and I may have overlooked some of them. It never happened. This long and consistent record demonstrates that the international consensus on FDLR's threat is not in dispute. What is lacking is not clarity, but action. But it is not too late. As the peace agreement makes clear, the two matters of the threat of the FDLR and Rwanda's defensive measures are inherently inseparable. By ignoring one and dramatizing the other, MONUSCO rendered itself unable to effectively discharge its mandate in its totality. This does not have to remain the case. We welcome constructive contributions MONUSCO can make to the implementation of the peace accord, and are committed to supporting it in performing the relevant aspects of its mandate. Rwanda, therefore, welcomes the recent meeting between the Special Representative, Madam Bintu Keita, and the leadership of AFC M23 in Goma, and this was long overdue. The Special Representative, Madam Keita's engagement marks a constructive step forward and reflects what Rwanda has long encouraged: direct dialogue and to foster mutual understanding and address issues openly. MONUSCO can only be effective if it maintains trust with all parties, and the mission's efforts should be focused on supporting all such initiatives aimed at bringing about peace. Instead of acting on these repeated council mandates, MONUSCO has at times appeared to demonize any force or government that insists on implementing them. Accordingly, we believe that MONUSCO must urgently focus on the following areas to support these promising but still fragile efforts. First, by impartially prioritizing the protection of civilians. Second, by playing a constructive role in facilitating dialogue among all relevant actors. And third, by ceasing the amplification of politicized narratives that undermine confidence. It is a positive development that the mission has finally begun to engage with AFC M23 constructively. This shift is essential to building the trust and confidence needed on all sides to sustain meaningful dialogue and progress towards peace. We call on MONUSCO to tone down the rhetoric and end public attacks, and instead focus on working and engaging in supporting the fragile but credible diplomatic initiatives underway. Rwanda remains convinced that a negotiated political solution is the only responsible and viable path, particularly in light of the history of the Great Lakes region. The issues in the region, including the legitimate demand of AFC and M23 for civil rights, political inclusion, and implementation of previously agreed commitments, must be addressed seriously and through negotiation and dialogue. Failure to do so will only ensure the continuation of tension and the return of cyclical violence. Madam President, on the Secretary General's recent report, Rwanda reiterates the critical importance and impartial, non-politicized reporting. Balanced and factual reporting helps the Council to focus on root causes rather than symptoms, avoid instrumentalization, and make decisions that support long-term peace building. When objectivity is compromised, reports become tools for selective narratives rather than instruments for collective action. Finally, as we mark the 80th anniversary of the United Nations, Rwanda reaffirms its unwavering commitment to peace and stability in our region and to constructive diplomacy. We continue to engage in good faith, a sense of responsibility, and a sincere desire to be part of the solution. We continue to work hand in hand with the United Nations, regional organizations, and bilateral partners to ensure that the promise of this peace process is not only fulfilled, but sustained. We call on the DRC government to address their internal challenges and not externalize them. Rwanda is committed to supporting sustainable mechanisms that promote accountability and inclusive development. This includes participating in joint security efforts, confidence-building initiatives, and regional economic integration. We also see a unique opportunity to turn the page from the confrontation to collaboration, and from suspicion to trust, where our nations cooperate and prosper. As we look ahead, we urge this Council to uphold the principles of fairness, consistency, and peace. The true measure of this Council will not be in how many conflicts it has managed, but it will be in how many it has truly resolved. I thank you for your attention.